the crimson tide we fight. Blue guardians blaze through the night. Wire nerves, iron souls are blight. Reputed Zoids bring in the fight. Laser beams cutting through the dark. Metal warriors left their mark. We're the tanks of Zoidstar. Rolling thunder, breaking far. Blue guardians standing strong. Against the mutants we belong. Under the twin moon's light. Gear and grit, no wind in sight. Battle cries, piercing the cold. Zoids are mighty and bold. Sparks screeching metal grind. Guardians never left behind. War's fury shaking Zoidstar's core. Blue and red, crashing once more. We're the tanks of Zoidstar. Rolling thunder, breaking far. Blue guardians standing strong. Against the mutants we belong. We're the tanks of Zoidstar. Rolling thunder, breaking far. Blue guardians standing strong. Against the mutants we belong. Under the Zoidstar. Rolling thunder, breaking far. Blue guardians standing strong. Against the mutants we belong. Under the twin moon's light, gear and grit, no end in sight. Battle cries piercing the cold. Zoid's heart mighty and bold.